So now we are going to talk, kind of combine a bit of LiveOps, player support, and also AI. So now we're going to have a conversation about a practical approach to AI transformation across player support. And we have some amazing people who I get to spend time with at Gamescom, which was fun. So we're going to hear from them. And we've got Saïd from Keywords, we've got Samantha from Keywords, Helpshift, we've got Pascal, and we've got Marek. So I'm going to get you guys to come on up and tell us all your marvelous stuff. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Hello.
Hello. Is this working?
Everyone.
Perfect. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us. We realize it's been a long first day at here at PGC Helsinki, and we're really glad that you could join us. I hope to provide you with a couple of valuable takeaways today as well. My name is Saïd. I'm a strategic account manager with Keyword Studios, and it's my pleasure to host this panel for you today. So as you most certainly know, there's been a lot of buzz around AI this year, and with the appearance of ChatGPT and Google Bard and other competitors, it's been made available to the public at large. But AI and machine learning have been around for longer than that. So applying AI and automation to your player support processes and operation may seem intimidating at first, but it's really quite practical, and it's relatively easy to show the ROI in a relatively short time frame. So in the next 40 minutes or so, we'll try to break down some best practices, some common pitfalls, and some real-life examples that can hopefully help you build a roadmap towards AI-driven player support, if that's what you're looking to do. So with that said, it's time to introduce our panelists. I'd like to give a chance to each of them to introduce themselves. Can you maybe say something about yourself, about the company you work for, and tell us what your favorite game of all time is?
All right, so hi, my name is Pascal. I'm the player support lead at Rovio Entertainment. So I guess I don't need to introduce the company. Technically, we make Angry Birds games and some other stuff as well, but mainly Angry Birds. I've been working in player support for more than 10 years, mainly mobile. My favorite game, oh my
Careful
God.
now, Pascal.
Yes, it's not going to be mobile. It's going to be Civilization, because just one more turn, that's unfortunately the thing for me. So, yeah, that'll be it.
All right, thank you, Pascal. Want to go next, Sam?
My name's Samantha. I'm the VP of Customer Success at Helpshift, which is a technology owned by Keywords. Helpshift is a conversational AI and automation support platform. We have an SDK out of the box that gives you everything you need from the Help Center to the agent platform through the SDK integrated directly into the game, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. My favorite game, and I don't really mean to say that because Rovio's next to me, but I really like Angry Birds. I've always liked it, and now my son loves it, so it's kind of a thing we do together, so I love it.
Awesome.
And hello, everyone. I'm Marek. I'm with Keyword Studios. We're a technical provider. We also provide the player support services to the industry. Helpshift is now part of the family. I've been doing player support, community, and moderation for the past 13 years across a very large number of games, and working as a vendor. We are able to get that exposure to the industry as a whole, so that's very, very cool to be in such a position. I'm grateful for the opportunities. For a favorite game, I would go with what Pascal said. I've lost too many nights and too many hours on Civilization. Probably the fifth one. Although right now on my iPad I have the sixth one. So I guess that's a mobile game now. So that counts.
There has to be.
All right, thank you all, and thank you for joining us. All right, let's start our discussion, Pascal, with you, if you don't mind, and Rovio. How important would you say player support is for the success of Rovio and its games? And a secondary question, like, what is your vision of the ideal player experience?
So they actually tie in both very well with each other. So our mission as a company is to be able to provide the most fun, the most enjoyable kind of puzzle games that our players can play for generations. For us in player support, that as well, it means that we want to make sure that those players can actually focus more on playing the games and not getting stuck with either a bug or a question that they might have on how they could progress through the game. So for us, it is important to be very hands-on, being able to provide players as fast as possible an answer so that they can get back to playing and enjoying the game.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, it's our understanding that you've recently switched to Helpshift from a primarily email-based solution. What are some of the reasons that made you think about switching tools?
So initially, we have been working with a provider that is mainly email-based or uses more email-based conversations, and we noticed that that was not necessarily the best kind of way for players on mobile to contact us, because the least thing that you would want to do is actually be in your mobile game, you encounter something, and you would have to exit the app, go into your email client, send an email, send that off, go back into the game to see if it is fixed, or constantly revert back to your email in order to check if you get a response.
Right.
So that was one of the reasons. We also felt that we weren't doing enough with automation itself. Like in the industry, we call a particular type of question that should be straightforward, where you have a clear answer to the player. We call it the dumb contact. Sorry for that, but that is what we call it. And it technically means it's an answer that could, or it's a question that could have been avoided because you could proactively already have provided the answer. So those kind of things are things that we thought that, why are we not automating that? Why are we having agents actually spend time answering individually to each of these questions? So those kind of things combined, they made us think like, okay, maybe it is time that we look at a better solution for this, because email plus a lot of dumb contacts and lack of automation, it doesn't allow us to scale with the success of the games and the growth of the player base.
Right. Now, a question we get a lot from some of our clients and prospects: how do you get buy-in for such a big move internally?
Yeah, it's a very common question, and I talk with a lot of peers actually, and they also ask me that question: how can I get buy-in in order to switch a tool or to get extra budget for this? The most common kind of answer, I guess, that I would get when I'm asking others about this is that, yeah, prove the ROI, the return of investment that you would get from it. It's not necessarily only that, it's also what is better for the player experience. Can you provide self-help to players to get them back faster into the game? It's a very important part. It's also making people aware of, well, okay, there is a cost savings, obviously. It's a big thing, and especially in the past year, a lot of companies have been going into this cost savings kind of mode. So that is, technically, it's still an issue, or it's still a topic, not an issue, but a topic rather. It is an issue for support, however, it is an issue for support. But obviously, you need to be able to prove to your stakeholders that you can actually make operations more efficient. And with more efficient, it can be that you have a cost-cutting aspect. For us, for instance, it was clear that by automating more of these, again, dumb contacts, you could technically save a whole bunch of money that you otherwise would just be throwing through the window. What I actually did was that together with the people from Helpshift, we came up with a plan on, okay, what would this look like for us if we would be implementing this? What would our projected volume be? What would our projected cost savings per conversation be? And how would that affect our total budget? And with that kind of information, I called out an all-hands-on-deck kind of producers meeting. So all the producers from all the games, we all sat together, and I just explained, look, this is currently what our operational cost is for each of these games, how we are supporting them. By switching over to Helpshift, we would actually be able to save this. And that alone might have done the trick for some, but then I try to phrase it in the sense of like, the money that I save is technically gain in net revenue for you. And that actually made the majority of them say like, okay, this is something that we want to be on board with.
Now you're talking. making a switch like that can be a huge undertaking, right? How did you sort of manage that? What were some of the things that you and your team thought about when planning out this migration? Was there? I'm sure there was plenty of change management involved. How did you approach that?
Yeah, so that's a pretty loaded question and a pretty big question as well. So we have half an hour, right?
Yeah, we have half an hour left, so we're good.
So
This is the rest of the panel, by the way.
yeah. So I would have to say that we were already early on very interested in moving away from one tool to another. And we actually, the moment that we started to have a little bit more concrete conversations with Helpshift, we actually started in player support, started to make a plan. What are the things that we need to do in order to make a successful transition? And we realized that it was actually a whole lot of work. Indeed, I'm not going to lie, it is scary. But by identifying each of the points that you actually need to deliver on, you can make good progress on this. So what we did was we understood that we had more than 1,500 FAQs in total for our whole portfolio. Caveat, we have a portfolio of 23 live games right now, so that is quite many. 1,500 or more FAQs. We wanted to make sure that those would be moved over from one system to another, and there was no ready-made solution for that. Because one vendor doesn't want you to move over to another vendor, so they're not going to make it easy for you, except Helpshift, technically. But I'm not thinking of
conquered it.
Yeah, I'm not thinking of leaving. Don't worry. But so we already made a plan of like exporting all our FAQs. At the same time, making sure that we actually revise all our FAQs, because we understood in email you can have long-form responses. Within Helpshift, it feels more like a chat within the mobile game. And that means that you need to have short-form responses. So that meant that our FAQs and our canned responses that we had, they would likely not translate well from web platform to a mobile platform. So we revised everything. We revised the languages, the tonality within the messages. We cut everything down to the essentials, because people don't care about fluff when they need a support request. They need to get the exact information that they require. So that is one thing that we did. We also planned out with our tech team what the actual user flow would be, at what point or in which scenario would a user want to contact us, what would be the exact touch points that they would have with our client or with the game client, and what would they have with the support SDK within that client. So we started mapping all of that out. Our central tech team did an amazing job, like testing out all these use case scenarios. They actually created documentation for each of the game teams on how to actually integrate a centrally controlled SDK through which we can actually update all the games at the same time if needed. And that has taken a couple months, I would say. So the prep was actually quite long. But once we actually started to implement it within the game teams, it took us less than 2 days for each game. Wow. So it is extremely fast to implement it once you have the correct information documented.
Awesome.
So that's kind of the journey that we have. And we are currently, I do have to point out, this is technically change management, because you're yanking out a support tool from 23 games and putting a new one in 23 games. I calculated this at one point. It would have taken, normally it would have taken us for 23 games, it would have taken us around 2 years in order to complete the whole task. And we're going to do it in less than 8 months.
That's ambitious.
It is ambitious, but also the benefits are there. And if I have the buy-in, then why shouldn't we do it?
Absolutely. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Sam, let's hear from you. Could you expand a little bit on what Pascal has shared from his experience, and tell us how Helpshift supports customers with the migration process? What change management resources they make available?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks, Pascal, for kind of sharing all the great work that we did. But I think it was a very hand-in-hand partnership to kind of create that plan. What we try to do is make sure we focus on onboarding. I think if we onboard our customers correctly to the product and making sure that they're using the core features out of the box that achieve their goals against the ROI plan that we put together with Pascal, then the schedule of migrating 23 games on 8 months is going to be on track, and that's kind of how we work together. So we provide onboarding specialists that kind of stick with our customers through the implementation of the SDK, and then making sure that we provide the data that can help them set up their classification of their top issue categories. And then from there, they can plan out their automation roadmap using those top categories that they've identified based on their contacts from their actual data from the previous tool. Then we make sure that all the features out of the box from the SDK, from the Help Center, with the AI, the bots set up in the dashboard, is done correctly, mapping to their processes that they've given us. So we work hand in hand to make sure that is very seamless. And then we also provide training to the admins and the agents, because they're coming from an email-based platform, switching to a chat model with automation. It's definitely change management that we have to be mindful of to not hinder the agent's productivity or their kind of buy-in to using automation alongside their work, and understanding that work is to support them, to enable them to provide responses faster to the players.
Awesome, thanks, Sam. Marek, what about from your side? Like, you have a lot of experience managing these big teams of people that actually provide the support. Is there anything that you've seen go well or not necessarily so well during a transition like that, or more specifically when switching from an email-based system to an asynchronous?
So you can imagine that after we acquired Helpshift, a lot of our partners want to capitalize on that. And we, since January, we have been transitioning a lot of our partners over to Helpshift. Now, the people side of agents learning Helpshift or migrating from one CRM to another, that's fairly straightforward. They get it. It's not a complex task. However, to get the most out of Helpshift and AI that it enables, you have to be mindful of what Pascal was talking about. Like, it takes 2 days, right, to implement. But Pascal had to get those resources, right? He had to have those game teams available for that time to integrate the SDK, right? That's the first step. Once you have that, you're able to have the platform in the game. Now, AI is not out of the box. It's not your chat GPT, right? It has to be set up correctly to capitalize on what it can offer. So that's one of the important messages that I want to give everyone. Like, yes, the technology is there, but it has to be also set up correctly to your needs. It's easy, but you need to invest the time into it. The other thing on the human side, as we're migrating from other CRMs over to Helpshift, as a vendor, right, we right now provide technology and people. Before, we were providing just the people, which meant, like, hey, if there's automation, I'm kind of losing business here. So, what's the interest? But we knew that was coming. That's why we partner up and now working as one. By design, with proper AI, we know that 20 to 30% of our staff that was working on the game will no longer be required to support tickets. They might be moved to, like, VIP stuff. You might enable, like, because you have your budget, right? You want to spend it towards the player, right? Engage with them. So just be mindful that 20 to 40% of your workforce, you no longer need them for this particular task. You can use them for something else that brings value. But the level of AI just enables you to have less. The other thing is, if you have KPIs right now, when your player support operations, you have specific KPIs for time per ticket, right? Be ready that they will go up. Like, people will spend more time now once you have proper automation per issue. Simply because all your easy, I don't know if you're calling it dumb content goes away. You no longer have that, right? So, but what that means that people that are answering tickets are now dealing mainly with those complex stuff, right? And here, the pitfall, if you want to say it that way, is if you don't have proper process or tooling. I think the previous speaker was talking about tooling in LiveOps and how important that is. So you have to be able to enable the agent or whoever is replying, the game master, to act on that player's account. So you can get a lot out of that transformation of AI. It takes away a lot of the manual work. To get that to the upper level, you have to make sure that other tools are also in line. And if you want to get the most out of AI, invest the time and make sure that your game team is ready.
Thanks, Marek. That's great. So let's try to make this a little more tangible, and we promised some takeaways. So Sam, could you speak to some of the most common pitfalls and best practices that people can take away from this?
Yeah, I think when you're kind of trying to test out AI or even automation for the first time, make sure you have clear success criteria. What are you trying to measure? What is your goals? Are you trying to reduce your response time, improve agent productivity, and improve the player experience, all of the above? Making sure that you have clearly defined goals so that you can measure it along the way and then pivot or change your approach once you see some results. Otherwise, you're not going to have a clear outcome or clear conclusion. Second is change management. Implementing AI is not just about adding AI to your technology, right? You have to think about organizational mindset shift. How do you get buy-in from moving from email 100% to kind of AI and automation, and telling everybody about the value of that so that they understand why are we doing this and what are we trying to achieve at the end of the day. Third is that AI is not a set it and forget it process, right? AI requires training, and it's what I call garbage in, garbage out. If you are not training the AI with data that is good quality, and when I say good quality, you also have to think about the balance. If you clean the data too much, then it's not really going to mirror how your players talk to agents or how they contact you, how they talk about their problem. But if you kind of don't clean the data, then you're going to get a lot of gibberish sometimes, right? Or spam. So you have to clean it in a way that actually is reflective of enough for the AI to learn with a good foundation. And then that way they can improve over time, and you can then understand how to retrain in production once it's live. So those are the kind of things that I would suggest when you're kind of looking at AI and automation initially. And be ready to have an open mind that it might impact your KPIs like CSAT in the short term, because you're introducing something into the player experience. It's going to take time for players to understand that at the end of the day, it helps them get a response faster. So initially, you might see CSAT decrease, but then look into why, improve those setup of the AI and the journey, and then eventually you will see the CSAT go up, because we've done this over and over again, especially like now we're working with Pascal. So I would just say keep an open mind, but have clear goals, buy in, top to bottom from leadership down to kind of operational level, and then most importantly, making sure the agents understand how the AI and automation is going to make their jobs easier, and where they're going to now be able to spend more time, to Marek's point, on VIPs, on complex problems that you don't want automation to touch yet. So then you can start to really strategically shift the humans to do what AI and automation can't do yet, or you're not comfortable with them handling sensitive processes. So those are the type of pitfalls, but also best practices that I think can be thought about.
Super valuable. Thank you, Sam. Pascal, you're going live with Helpshift. What is it? Later this month?
We're already live.
Oh well, you're going live with more games.
Yeah. No.
So
Yeah.
What are some of the concrete improvements that you're expecting to see?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, oh my God, this seems like this is the topic of this whole conversation: AI and dumb contacts. But no, we're really trying to cut down.
We should have chosen a different title.
Yeah, different title for this panel, definitely. So no, this is definitely, it's an out-of-the-box solution, right? Like putting automation in place, identifying which are the hot topics that people keep, or not hot topics even, but recurring topics that people keep writing to you about. Automating that, it seems like very low-hanging fruit with a huge impact on our operational efficiency. So that's the first thing that we actually did. The second thing that actually would be a really interesting case is something that I haven't seen anyone else do this, but correct me if I'm wrong with this, Sam. But Helpshift uses these what they call smart intents, which is technically you let the end user select a classification of this is the type of issue that I want you to know about. And we created an extra one there, which is called bad ad reporting. And this is something that we had been thinking about with our tech team and our ad and monetization department, because every mobile gaming studio that is serving ads to their player base, they will know that there is a lot of fraudulent ads out there, or that there is a lot of broken ads around there. And as a company, you're paying for that volume. So what we actually did with that is that we actually wanted to set up this whole workflow through which it would be a lot easier for players to immediately report an ad. So they would just open up Helpshift, have the smart intent that says report bad ad. They would tap on it, and we have a whole automated process through which the player is asked what type of problem that you have with the ad. Which ad is it? Can you add a screenshot to this? Can you tell us the date or the exact time when this actually happened? Or otherwise, was this the last ad you saw?
Like a bug report.
Yeah, like a bug report, but we made it like a whole automated process. And then we're not fully there yet, but we have that flow set up. Ultimately, we would want it. Well, okay, no, let me tell you. What we currently are doing is whenever we get a ticket in like that or a conversation in like that, we actually mention this towards our ad team. We are telling them, hey, report came in about this one. This is already the 5th report within 1 hour that we've gotten about this ad. This technically means that there is a problem with the offering that we're currently having. And they're very responsive to that. But the ultimate scenario here would actually be that, Sam, can you get something like this? Maybe an integration or something, API call, that actually goes directly to Slack and says, we have received this many issues reporting this particular ad. This is the data that we have been getting from this. And the ad team is immediately aware of this because they just see the Slack message pop into the channel and they know something's up.
Wow, very creative
Yes,
use
we
of
can do
the
that.
technology there.
Yeah,
there you
no
go.
problem.
Is that a promise? Do we have that on?
Yeah, no problem.
That's-
We're
this
all
is being
about
recorded, right?
automation, so it's right up our alley.
Sorry, Sam, you just talked yourself into some trouble there. So, speaking of which, Sam, what else is on the roadmap for Helpshift? What can we expect to see in the future?
Yeah, so what Pascal mentioned was our AI classification feature called Smart Intents. What we do is we take your data from the previous CRM, and then we can build a model that shows your most common problem types. And then we would use that as a foundation to create the bots that tie to those specific use cases. So we've already had that out for about 2 years. So we've got kind of a lot of gaming companies using that right now. AI continues to be a really core focus area because of things like ChatGPT and other AI tools out there that gaming companies are now testing. So it continues to be a heavy investment area. So what you're going to start seeing is ChatGPT in some of our core features. We have analyzed the strengths and the weaknesses of ChatGPT, so we want to couple them with features that make sense for us to continue using it to support self-help, for example. You're also going to start seeing machine translation with AI. It's another tool that Keywords owns, so we've just integrated that natively into Helpshift. So you can now use machine translation coupled with AI training to talk to your players in any languages and provide 24/7 support. The third area is you're going to start seeing AI implemented across what we call our modern support journey. So it starts with the Help Center, then the Smart Intents, which is the AI, then the bots, then the agent dashboard. So we will be allowing kind of using ChatGPT to be able to summarize the entire ticket, so that agents don't have to scroll to the top, and you can kind of get that context and continue to improve those resolution times. So, and lastly is sentiment. So sentiment analysis with AI. So those are the areas that we'll be investing into in 2024.
Sounds like you'll have your work cut out for you, Sam.
Yes.
I want to zoom in quickly on one of the things that you mentioned, and that's machine translation. Pascal, you mentioned that you were going to be starting to use that to enhance the player experience. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I think this is an inevitable kind of topic for support. I'm just going to throw out a question here. How much, as a percentage, do you think of the total gaming population would feel comfortable writing to support in English?
Throw out number. Speak up. More or less.
I'm going to surprise you. It's less than 26%. So it's quite low amount of the whole player base, a global player base that we would have that would be fluent enough or feel comfortable enough in English to reach out to support in English. So that means that there is 3/4 of the whole player population that we would have that actually would want to reach out to support in a completely different language than most companies actually support. From experience, we all know agents with other native language skills other than English, they can be horribly expensive. So it can be quite expensive for your operational budget or your operational cost. Machine translation actually offsets that kind of cost. One thing that I have noticed working at several companies in the past is that players generally don't expect that when they are talked to in their native language that the answer is 100% accurate. Like one thing that you need to consider is that the more effort a player needs to do in order to be able to conversate with support, the more of a friction point you have. The more effort a company puts in trying to communicate with a player, the more brownie points you get, which then translates into loyalty. So even if your answer would be machine translated and it would be 98% correct, it would miss a little bit of the nuances that a native speaker would actually have. The player is most likely going to score their satisfaction higher when they get helped with machine translation.
Right. Interesting. Marek and Sam, I know you have some case studies already with clients that are using machine translation. What have the results been like? What have you seen?
So there's a very Pascal mentioned that it's terribly expensive to stuff in some languages, but versus the amount of volume or tickets that are coming in a specific language. Finnish might be one, right? How many of you have interacted with customer support in Finnish? I'm assuming that's the portion of the group here is Finnish, right?
Pascal raised his hand.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So it's not common, right? So you're missing out on that group. Now with language AI embedded directly, it's a seamless experience. The key element that we've seen when it was implemented is being honest with the player, that it's not a human, but you're speaking to a human, but everything they say and what you say to them is being translated through an engine. The perk of language AI, so the solution that Keywords own, and one of the reasons why Helpshift with Keywords made so much sense for us, is it's a language technology developed specifically for games. And what we can do is we can build language engines that are specific to your game's linguistics use, right? So if you have Sword of Fire translated into German or Polish, it could be translated as Sword of Fire, Sword of Heat, or something else, right? Because of the pairing of languages and how, like if you Google Translate it, it gets random. But in the game, you have it specifically. So what helps is that we can get that level of detail and make sure that what is being said or translated by technology within support is translated exactly the same as the localization team did it for the game itself. So there's 100% accuracy. Those are custom engines, but it just works so much better that way. The biggest perk is you reduce your waiting time for players. So you get to them quicker, and again, kind of repeating what Pascal said, you're able to keep them longer, right? They don't go to another game because they weren't able to log in, and they had to wait 16 hours because your German agent just finished their shift, and they will not be on until 9 a.m. next day, right? You can now stuff 24/7 in any language. You don't care about language. The other thing is, as a vendor, right, we're stuffing a lot of people and often have to look for specific language skills, right? And that used to be one of the core components of who we wanted to hire. Like we wanted to hire a Finnish speaker, right? Because Rovio wanted to have support in, I'm just making things up, right? But imagine such a situation, right? That no longer is the case. Now we can look for people who are best for support, because that language element, language component, is delivered by AI. So you can get people who really care about players, not just people who speak specific language and need a job, right? So that helps a lot.
I'll add to that. For customers who have tried the machine translation, the language AI feature in Helpshift, what they've seen initially is we can expect CSAT to be maintained, and then CSAT will improve over time. But as kind of Pascal mentioned, you just have to be honest that it's not native, but at the end of the day, players just want their answers as quickly as possible, even if it's not perfect. They're a little bit more forgiving that you're trying. And so CSAT will go up over time. So we see that. But obviously, the cost savings, you can almost immediately see an impact just by testing one language and then the second and then the third. So there is a lot of value in being able to provide that in 24/7 as well and making players happier.
Awesome. Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. I do want to do a quick wrap up to repeat the pitfalls and best practices that you mentioned, Sam. So pitfalls: lack of clear objectives, not having a change management strategy, and treating AI as a one-time project. Bad ideas, stay away. Best practices: measurable success criteria, training and using the right data, being open to trial and error, and clear, consistent, and transparent communication to all of your stakeholders. Marek, Sam, Pascal, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
I think we have almost 4 more minutes left. So if anybody has any questions, I want to leave space for that.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
So we've got a question over here. I'll just go grab the mic for you.
Hi, so I was wondering about the scale. When do you want to start thinking about this AI in the customer support? Like, what's the amount of tickets per day that is reasonable to do with an AI instead of using a human to do this customer support thing?
Thank you. Sam, do you want to take it?
Yeah, I'll take it first, and then maybe you can add to it since your volume is bigger. We can start AI on any size of tickets because for like customers like Rovio that have 23 games, obviously the volume is significant. But like even if you look at kind of like the supercells that get 1 million tickets a day, right? And we just use their data to make sure the training is fast. And the training you can do without having your own AI team. We have the training mechanism inside the agent dashboard, admin dashboard. So it's really easy. So for clients that have data and want to train it, that's an option. So we can do it right away and deploy it immediately. No engineering work required. For smaller clients, because we work with over 300 gaming companies globally, any genre. So we have the structure by those genres out of the box. When you look at top gaming issues for any games, I mean, like 20-30% is account-related issues, right? Then it's 20% like gameplay, right? Technical and bug, and then there's maybe a feedback or something really specific to your game. So 4 or 5 out of the box, and then we give you kind of the subcategories. You can fine-tune. You can launch with that with our onboarding team out of the box. Once you go into production and start collecting enough data, then you can train it. And we don't need a ton of data to train. Like 30 or so messages at a time, you can get the quality and you can start to see the data and iterate from there. So you can start any volume.
Pascal?
Yeah.
Thoughts from you before we run out of time?
Yeah, I was going to add quickly that, I mean, at which point does it become worth investing in AI? I would turn the question around and I would actually bounce it back at you and say, at which word do you think it's not worth your time answering the same question 30 or 40 times? So that is as well one thing to take away. I mean, like Sam said, like they have actually a very scalable kind of solution. Helpshift is more than only the AI part. Like that is like, let's say that is the most impactful kind of solution that they can provide right now. But they also have the kind of stuff that other tools have, like automation. And my God, I have to say, like they have the best automations that I've actually been working with because they are so easy to use. They don't require understanding of code or anything like that, like others have. So the basic concepts are there, and they already are providing like a better experience by actually being integrated within your game client. doesn't even matter if it's mobile anymore because they actually just open it up to be available on console
QR
as well.
code.
So yeah, automate as fast as you can. Use AI. It's a matter of scalability at that point, but you can test it out. Like Sam said, you don't need that much volume in order to train it already. So.
All right. Hope that answers your question, but that's really all we have time for today. If you have more questions, feel free to approach us. We'll also be at the booth tomorrow, just when you come into the right side. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. That was great. I mean, just the whole idea of this using AI in this space is like really enlightened to me, because particularly when we were talking to these guys in Gamescom for the community clubhouse that we did, it's just like realizing that we have these tools now, and they, I think particularly that machine learning process now being good enough to get positive customer satisfaction from it. The speed at getting somebody there for to be able to then support people live as well. Again, massively interesting.